Jesus Christ was tempted in every way that we were tempted, but yet he didn't sin. Hi, I'm Pastor Kendall Granger, and welcome to New Life Community Church, where we build strong families. Super excited to continue or to wrap up this sermon series we're calling Conquering the Giants. We looked at our audience, we looked at our congregation and our prayer requests and all that, and we determined that there are some giant issues in our lives. There's some big things that we're struggling with, things that we're going back and forth with. And some of those top things had to deal with money stress and health and grief and just so many big issues. And so we took this sermon series and dealt with all those big issues. And today we're going to end up, close this sermon series out with career stress. How do I conquer the giant of career stress, where so many people, because of the pandemic, this pandemic that we're experiencing, Corona-19 or COVID-19, has been an airborne virus that's just been running rampant in our community and have be responsible for over 250,000 deaths already. And so people are not able to go to work, jobs are shutting down, venues where large gatherings were designed to have are no longer able to have those things. So jobs and money and career and stock markets and retirement, all this stuff is like kind of tossed up in the air, and it's causing stress on top of already stressful situations. So how do you deal with that? Well, we've been looking at, for the last 6 weeks, the life of David. Okay, and David has been giving us some big issues on how to be a giant killer, starting with Goliath. And then we talked about grief, we talked about temptation, we talked about all these big issues, finances. And so now we're going to talk about David and his career. You know, David was not born a king, but he was anointed to be king. And he was picked out by God, and he had a major promotion in his life. He moved from being a shepherd's boy to being one of the greatest kings Israel ever had. So let's just jump right in. We're going to look at 1 Samuel chapter 16, and I'll just read for your hearing. It says this: Now the Lord said to Samuel, you have mourned long enough for Saul. I have rejected him as king of Israel. So fill your flask with olive oil and go to Bethlehem. Find a man named Jesse who lives there, for I have selected one of his sons to be my king. When they traveled, Samuel took a look at Eliab and thought, surely this is the Lord's anointed. But the Lord said to Samuel, don't judge by his appearance or height, for I have rejected him. The Lord doesn't see things the way you see them. People judge the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. In the same way, all 7 of Jesse's sons were presented to Samuel. But Samuel said to Jesse, the Lord has not chosen any of these. Then Samuel asked, are these all the sons you have? There's still one. There's still the youngest, Jesse replied, but he's out in the field watching the sheep and goats. Send for him at once, Samuel said. We will not sit down to eat until he arrives. So Jesse sent for him, and he was dark and handsome with beautiful eyes. And the Lord said, this is the one. Anoint him. So David stood there among his brothers, and Samuel took out the flask of olive oil he brought and anointed David with the oil. And the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon David from that day on. Now get this here. The story is so simple, but it's so much in there. And just watching how David was appointed and anointed to be the next king, we have to learn some lessons from his life and how we can grow in that area. So 4 choices that we need to make on a conscious basis, 4 things we need to do on a daily basis so that we can overcome and conquer the giant of career stress. I want you to get this now. When you and I take these 4 choices, these are things that we choose to do, okay? And we choose to apply these on a daily basis. It reduces the stress in our lives, and it opens us up for the Lord's promotions that he has in store for us. So let's look at the first one. Number 1, write this down if you have your sermon notes and all that, or not. Just get some piece of paper there or your cell phone. And the first thing is make a choice is this: pursue a heart of integrity. What I mean by that is go after a good, clean heart, a heart that is pure and clean and have integrity. See, the word integrity comes from this word integer, which means one, being one way all the time, being one way all the time. In other words, you can't be nice over here, then want to be a fraud over here. You can't be trying to do the right thing over here, then you got this secret life over here. What God is looking for is the heart. Now, in that story, you're going to find, he says that in 1 Samuel 16:7, look what the Bible says here. It says, but the Lord said to Samuel, do not judge by his appearance or his height, for I have rejected him. The Lord does not see the things the way you see them. People judge the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. And I want you to get this. Though you might have a great resume and you may have great experience, but if your heart is faulty, God will see through your facade, and he will see through that. So I want us to start making up our mind now that I'm going to go after, I'm going to chase after a pure heart, a heart of integrity. There's a story, it's a little edgy, but I tell it anyway. And there's a story of this old rooster who had got kind of weak, and he couldn't get to the top of the fence post to crow like he normally would. So this old bull said, hey man, if you eat some of my droppings, some of my waste, you'll get some strength. He said, well, okay. So he ate some bull droppings, and the first day he was able to get up about 3 rungs on the fence. Kept eating them, and over time he got all the way to the top of the post from eating these bull droppings. And right when he got ready to cock-a-doodle-doo, a hunter shot him and killed him. Now, the moral of the story is that BS will get you to the top, but it can't keep you there. I want you to get that. You can fake and phony and lie and cheat and claw your way up to the top, but that is not enough to keep you there. There's a whole lot of overnight successes or people who done some immoral things to get where they are, and they look like they live in a life, but you cannot keep yourself there with a bad heart. You're going to expose yourself. We've seen people who falsified their way all the way up to toppest jobs in America, only to be exposed for who they really are and not be able to continue. And so what I want to say to you is that we have to make sure that our hearts are pure, that we have integrity. There's a story I'm reminded of a pastor who got on the bus, and he paid his fare, and this was the time when they would give you change back. And so he got his change back, and he went to his seat, had noticed that the driver gave him too much change. So when he got to his seat to count his change, oh man, I got 50 cents too much. So he immediately got up and went back to the driver and said, hey, you gave me too much change. And the driver said, man, I really appreciate that. You know, I was at your church Sunday and I heard the sermon you preached on honesty, and I deliberately gave you too much change to see if you practice what you preach. You never know what's going on. See, when you have a heart of integrity and you know you're trying to do the right thing, guess what happens? God promotes you. God elevates you. But if only you can only do right when somebody's watching you, when you can only do right when the police are around or you're scared you're going to get caught, when you can do the right thing when nobody's looking, now we're on the right path here. So look what it says here. So, but God, this is Acts 13 and 22. It says, but God removed Saul and replaced him with David, a man about whom God said, I have found David, son of Jesse, a man after my own heart. Again, God is looking at the heart. You might have a great resume, you may have great education, and you might have great experience, but is your heart pure? Is your heart honest? Or will you do the occasional illegal thing when nobody's looking? Will you get away with this and you get away with that? See, it's all those little things too that make the difference, guys. Something as simple as just abiding by the speeding limit. Whoa, we're going too far, Pastor. No, seriously. Telling the truth, even if it doesn't matter, even if it gets you in trouble. You know, being honest about too much change, or you get to your car after you shopped and checked out and you find, oh, they forgot to ring up that little widget at the bottom of the cart. Nobody saw it, but taking that widget back inside. You in the car, you in the parking lot, you got in the way. No, take it back. Because guess what? God is looking at your integrity. And could it be that God is sending you tests, kind of like he did with the bus driver, to see if you're going to pass the test? Here's what happens. When you and I fail the test, it causes us to fail our promotions. We miss great opportunities. Could it be that you're not waiting on God? God is waiting on your heart to develop and grow. Is that making any sense? So, he says this. What good is it for a man to gain the whole world, yet forfeit their soul? See, for you and I to claw and hook and crook and cheat our way up, it doesn't matter. That's waste. But God says, I want you to know that there's an opportunity here for you to grow, but it starts with your integrity. And that's a choice you make. You can choose to do the right thing. You could choose to be honest. You could choose to write the right time on your timesheet, or you could write a little more. You can choose to hide out in the bathroom like you in their sleep or whatever. You can choose to falsify some documents to kind of, or you can choose to do the right thing. Every single day when you wake up, whether you have a job or don't have a job, choose to do the right thing, because God is sitting high, but he's looking low. And he's waiting for you to show him that you're ready for the next promotion. He's waiting on your behavior to match the level he's trying to take you to. Now, the second thing I want you to write down is this. The second choice that we make on a daily basis is this, is we choose to trust God with our calling. Oh man, this is a hard one. We choose to trust God with our calling. I want you to understand that before you were born, God already knew who you were and who you would be and what he would have for you to do. God knew that you had greatness in you, and he wanted you to discover that and develop that. But can you trust him with the calling? See, sometimes God will call you to a situation. He'll call you into a level that's beyond your ability. Because where you are right now, he's calling you to somewhere higher, and you're like, I can't do it. You got to trust God with that, though. You got to trust that God will give you everything you need to be at that level if you're willing to trust him. See, your calling is really like going to a pizzeria. Now, I ain't talking about that old frozen pizza stuff. No. I'm talking about the real pizzeria. You know, the kind that starts with a lump of dough, right? And then they beat it and pound it, and they hit it on the table, and they mash it and twist it and beat it. And then they start throwing it from side to side. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And then they take the pound out and they beat it some up. Then they throw it up in the air and twirl it around and all that kind of, and boom, and then and boom. You know what? I was thinking about that dough. That dough goes through a whole lot of trouble. A whole lot of stuff has to happen to that dough just so I can have some enjoyment. Now, here's the point I'm trying to make, though. Don't miss this point. I don't know about you, but I never, ever go to the pizzeria for a lump of dough. I go for the sauce and the cheese and the meat and the vegetables. You know what I'm talking about, the good stuff. But here's what I'm saying. I can't enjoy the good stuff without the dough. I can't have the dough unless it's been through something. Are y'all getting what I'm saying? Your calling is like the dough in the pizzeria, that it goes through so much, but it's the foundation. Yeah, you want to have the glamour. Yeah, you want to have the big days and all that. But right now you got to go through something. David, when he was in the field, had to go through some he got beat up by some bears. He had to beat up some bears. He had to fight some lions. He had to tend these sheep. He had to go through all that. That was his kneeling of the dough. That was his beating down. And all of us right now, this Corona-19 has beat a lot of us down, but it's not over for us. It's preparation. It's getting our foundation together for the good stuff. Oh, man. Yeah, those long nights of studying and writing 10 and 20-page papers. Those reading boring books and stand on Zoom and propping your head up so you don't fall asleep. All those, that's part of the foundation. It's part of God building you up, getting you ready for what's ahead. I want you to understand something today. That this Corona-19, this pandemic, this hard time that we're going through, is all preparation for the next level. Trust God with your calling. Look what it says here in 1 Samuel 16, 12 and 13. So, check this out now. He says, trust him with your calling. He says, he sent for him, and when he was brought in, he was glowing with health, had a fine appearance and handsome feature. And the Lord says, rise and anoint him. This is the one. So Samuel took the oil and anointed him. And the Bible says, from that moment on, the Spirit of the Lord was on him heavily. It was on him, it had a strong power in his life. Here's what I'm saying. When God anoints you for the next level, he equips you with the power of the Holy Spirit to do the stuff that you couldn't normally do. Oh yeah, when I trust God with my calling, He's going to stretch me to some areas I never thought I'd go. He's going to have me do some things and say some stuff that I never thought I'd do or say. But he's preparing me for this calling. He's preparing me, and he's giving me the equipment, the Holy Spirit, to do all those things. And I want you to know that you are in preparation right now. Right? Some of y'all was saying, I got too much to do, I got too much time, I got too much running around to do, and then boom, and the world stopped for you. And instead of you taking advantage of this slow time, this downtime, and getting some stuff done, we're complaining about how bad it is. Stop complaining about it and embrace this downtime and allow yourselves to develop, to flourish, to grow, to get better. Now, check this out. Write this down. My calling is where my gifts and passions intersect with God's purpose. Write that down. My calling is where my gifts, what God prepared for me, right, in me, and my passion, those things that he gave me fire and I love to do, where they intersect with God's purpose. All right? See, sometimes you have a gift, you have a passion, and we use it for the wrong purpose. But when we use it for God's purposes, boom, the stress goes down. Promotions come up. God elevates. I love what Ephesians 10:2 says like this, for we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus, to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. In other words, in advance, maybe before you was even here, God already knew what he had designed you to do. And he knows exactly, he's the author and he's the finisher of your faith. I want you to get that. Now, the third choice that we make on a daily basis, not only do we choose to pursue a heart of integrity and trust God with my calling, but do what's in front of you today and do it well. Don't miss this. This is such a crucial point of this message. Do what's in front of you today. Right now, whatever you're doing, do it, but do it well. See, some of us, we're waiting till we get the promotion. We're waiting till we get the master's degree. We're waiting till we finish our doctorate. We're waiting until I get into a new building. We're waiting until I get 10 more clients. We're waiting until, no. Whatever you have right now, wherever you are right now, do it and do it well. David was not campaigning to be the next king. David was not looking to be elevated. He was so busy doing what God had assigned him at that moment that they had to come look for him and call him in. The other boss was lining up, I'm gonna be the king, I'm gonna be the king, I'm gonna be the king. David was so preoccupied with doing what God had already assigned him. I want you to get this now. Some of you all may be working at what you consider a low job. You may be working no job. You may, for the first time, be at a free soup line or a grocery giveaway line for the first time in your life. What is God doing? What is God doing? He's recalibrating some stuff. He's refocusing us on what's important, but then also he's giving us an opportunity to develop. See, right here is a developmental opportunity of a lifetime. This is where we can rise up, we can level up, we can go higher, but that's a choice we have to make. See, David went out in the field sleep, and the sheep was getting running around and getting eaten by bears and lions and all. No, he took that little handful of sheep and goats. He took that serious, and he loved them, and he focused on it, and he did it so well that God looked down from heaven and saw his heart. Not only did he see his behavior, but he saw his heart. Because I want you to understand, see, what's inside of you is going to determine how you act on the outside. See, some of us, we can fake a good work ethic for a couple of hours, for maybe 60 days even. Have you ever wondered why most jobs give you 90 days before? Yeah, because they figure you can fake it for 60, but somewhere between 61 and 90, the real you going to show up. But if your heart is right, if your heart is pure, if you got integrity, you trust God that he's going to lead you and guide you and provide, then you don't have to fake nothing. You don't have to be phony with anything. So look what they said about David. Check this out. So all these big sons come by, all these tall guys, all these guys that everybody thought they wanted, campaigning for this thing, right? And then Samuel asks, are these all the sons you have? And it's almost like they say, oh yeah, we got David out there. Yeah, he out there with the sheep and the goat. Ah, don't worry about him. He ain't nothing. See, when you are written off by the world, God says, I got you. Just because you don't fit the bill that everybody else fit, he was the youngest. He was the smallest at that time. But God looked into his future and looked into his heart. And the same thing he's doing for you right in here is a great opportunity for you to learn that second language, for you to finish that online class, for you to write that business plan, for you to open up that bit. You have the perfect opportunity to go to the next level. Or you could complain, you can moan, you can groan, and you can try to wait this thing out. I don't choose to wait it out. I choose to fight through this. And at the end of this pandemic, whenever it ends, you'll find me better. What do you mean? You'll find me more educated. You'll find me more forgiving. You're going to find me healthier. You're going to find me richer, wiser, and better, because I'm choosing not to be a victim, but to be a victor. I'm choosing to take everything that hits me, all the loss, all the hurt, all the pain, all the ups and the downs, and I'm using it as fuel to push me to the next level. This is a giant. This is a giant, but giants do fall. Amen? All right. Now, let's look at this. It says here, I love in Matthew 25 and 23, just kind of reiterates the point I'm making. This is in Matthew, it says, the master said, well done, my good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in handling this small amount, so now I will give you many more responsibilities. Get this. He says, I gave you a small amount on purpose. I wanted to see what you was going to do with this little bit. And because you've proven faithful with this little bit, I'm going to give you more. Are y'all getting this? Some of us are saying to God, God, when you bless me with more, I'm going to show out. I'm going to show up on time. I'm going to be on my A game. God said, no, I need your A game with this small amount. See, you don't get the promotion and then rise up. You rise up and then the promotion comes. Right? You don't start dressing appropriately when you become supervisor. You start dressing appropriately first, and then the supervisorship job finds you. Is it making some sense? You begin to carry yourself in the way. Whatever you're doing right now, do your best job at it right now. And God is saying, I'm going to give you much more responsibility. I'm looking at the heart, and I'm going to give you more responsibility. Look what it says here. I love this. In Ecclesiastes 9 and 10, I love this. It says, whatever you do, do it well. For when you go to the grave, there will be no more work of planning, knowledge, or wisdom. He says, whatever you're doing, do it well, whatever it is. If you're sweeping the sidewalk, do it well. Do it so well that people go like, man, who been down here like a new sidewalk? They put some new concrete. No, they new concrete. I mean, do it so good that people know that it's been done. Well, I got to walk the dog. Walk the dog so good that is record breaking, that is amazing to witness. The last choice that we make, and it's this here. Go to work for God every day. I wake up and I choose to work for God every day. Now, you don't have to work at a church. You don't have to be a minister. But just know that you're working for God. Look at our memory verse for this week is this. Colossians 3:23. It says this. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord, not human masters. Not men, not women, but working for the Lord. In other words, you might work at ABC job, and then you might have ABC supervisor or boss, but understand that God is the boss of all of us, and I'm working for him. Now that makes a big difference, because when I work for God, it changes my attitude because I love him. And I know he loves me. I know he honors me. He takes care of me, and he has my best interest at heart. So I can look beyond these humans who may be absent-minded or may not have my best interest at heart, because I know God has my best interest at heart. So I can look at that. So check this out. It says this. Am I not trying to win the approval of human beings or of God? Or am I trying to please people? If I was still trying to please people, I would not be a servant of God. I want you to get this. It's not about trying to jump through all the hoops to make everybody happy. Because here's the deal. You'll never make everybody happy. There are going to be some people that they're going to be happy no matter what you do, because they just love you. There are going to be some people, no matter what you say or do, they're going to pick the opposite, because that's just how they roll. But if you please God, godly people will be happy. And ungodly people will be upset with you. Well, somebody's going to be upset anyway, so it might as well be them. The point I'm making is this, guys. Let's make sure that we're honoring God at our workplace. If God has blessed you to get another job, or to keep your job, or to keep your business, work at it with all your heart as if you're working for him. Look at the last point here. The last verse says this. Jesus replied, this is Matthew 22, 37 through 39. He says, love the Lord with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it, love your neighbor as yourself. When I go to work, I'm taking that attitude with me. I'm loving God with all my heart, with all my soul, with all my mind, with all my strength. And I'm loving my neighbor. That means my co-workers as myself. See, if you're loving God and loving people, promotions are just a matter of time. Your last fill-in is this, guys. If God is for us, write this down, who can be, you guessed it, against us? Who can be against us? See, no matter how bad the economy gets, no matter who's in the White House, the question is, who's running your house? Is God the head of your house? I want you to know that these last 6 sermons were designed to help us overcome some of the biggest issues that we face in our country, in our homes, in our hearts. And if you would follow these simple instructions from the Bible, I know your life will be better. I know God will bless you greatly. Maybe you're just tuning in for the first time and you haven't the privilege of seeing the other 5. Or go to YouTube at New Life Community Church, East St. Louis, and you can watch all these messages. And leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. But let's share these messages with the people in our lives so that we all can conquer the giants that are in our lives today. Allow me to pray with you as we leave today and as we prepare to go into a new sermon series. We're going to go into a series talking about how to remember the reason for the season. We're going to look at some Christmas carols, some of the most famous songs, and how they really impact our lives and how we can use that as fuel to really know that God loves us. So let's pray together. God, we thank you today. Thank you for your love and your grace. Thank you for your peace of mind. In the midst of chaos and turmoil and pain, you've been consistently good. Now, Father, help us to overcome the stress of work and career. Give us what we need daily, that we may follow you and honor you and be able to focus on you. God, we ask that you would heal our land, heal our people, save our souls in Jesus' name. And every heart should say, amen. If you accept Christ today for the first time, do me a favor. Send me an email at pastor@newlifeestl.com. And I will respond. We'll get you some information, get you some resources to help you take some next steps. I even have a book I want to share with you called Next Steps, My Next Steps. I want to send that out to you absolutely free for you taking that step of accepting Christ today. If you need us, give us a call, send us an email, and we will respond to you. Until next time, God bless and have a great day. When you focus on serving others and give your life away, that's when you truly get a life.